Chandler Moore is suing Maverick City and Norman Gyamfi. Yeah, that Norman. Here's a breakdown of the lawsuit. In his lawsuit, Chandler alleges 8 different causes of actions or 8 different ways in which he believes he should recover money from the defendant. So let's break down the 8. The first one is a breach of contract and is based on the deal memo, which is the contract that he says that the defendants breached. And they breached that in 2 ways. One, they were supposed to give him $125,000 advance, and they failed to do that, so he's owed that amount of money. And then he also says that they failed to pay him at least up to $800,000 that should be based on the royalties that are due him under the agreement. Now, the breach of contract leads to the second cause of action, and that is unjust enrichment. And it's just what it sounds like. It's like, look, you owe me money, you didn't pay me the money, you kept the money, and now you are unjustly enriched. You should disgorge yourself, which means give it up and give it to me. I'm owed that. The third count is based on the allegation that Moore makes in his complaint, which is that Norman allegedly breached his fiduciary duty. And that means that a fiduciary is someone who's supposed to be looking out for you, and they don't do that. Instead, they do things to their own benefit. And in this case, according to the lawsuit, what Moore alleges is that at some point, Norman acquired an ownership interest, a significant ownership interest in Maverick City, and never revealed that to Moore. And the important thing here is that Moore had Norman as his personal manager and business manager who's supposed to be negotiating deals, and that means deals even with Maverick City. The issue is, if Norman owns Maverick City and he's supposed to be negotiating on behalf of Chandler, there's going to be a conflict, and Chandler said he never told me about that conflict, and therefore he breached his fiduciary duty. Now, counts 4 and 5 go together, and is based upon what I think are the most salacious parts of this lawsuit, which is where Moore alleges that Norman forged his signature. And so there's count 4, which deals with computer forgeries, and then count 5 deals with identity theft, essentially. And so Moore says in his complaint, he alleges that Norman stole his identity or forged his signature in order to enter agreements with bigger companies to redirect all royalties from Moore to Maverick City, and that Norman also withheld the money that he should have gotten from his royalties because all of that was redirected to Maverick City. Now, closely tied into those previous 2 counts is count 6, which is conversion. And conversion is just the civil version, which, so you have criminal law, civil law. It's the civil version of stealing. He's saying you stole money because you forged my signature, you took my identity, and you redirected the funds. You have essentially stolen from me. And again, you should have to pay me for those, for the redirection of those funds. It's also important to note, too, in the factual allegations, Moore also says that not only did Norman forge his signature, but he had Maverick City functioning as his power of attorney. Again, he did not give them permission to do that. So that's all, again, wrapped up into counts 4, 5, and 6. Count 7, again, very connected to 4, 5, and 6. It is asking for rescission, which means get me out of these contracts. Moore is saying, I did not actually sign up for these contracts, so I should have a declaration that I am not actually obligated to follow in these contracts that are based upon my forged signature. And then finally, count 8 is saying equitable accounting, like make me right. Figure out how much money is owed to me, and then allow me to recoup that amount of money that is owed to me. Now, Chandler Moore has asked for a jury trial, so it'll be interesting to see what happens, whether or not this actually goes to trial or it settles. Typically, the next step is that the one side will answer, or they'll file a motion to dismiss, and then they're off to the races with discovery. No matter what happens, I will be here and I will keep you all updated, so stay tuned.